What is up, Buckeye Nation? Huge, huge day in Ohio State. Huge, huge day. But first, I am joined by my good friend, the Boise Buckeye, the game time guru, co founder, Scarlet N Great Empire, Shane. Sugar Shane Larson. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on, Corey? Excited to be here. Excited to be here. Finally getting back on camera and being able to chat Buckeye football. Let's go, man.
Well, hey, it's technically the second time this week you've been on camera to
Truth.
talk Buckeye football.
You want to talk about that for a second? No,
Yeah, so we had recorded a show full of rumors and suggestions and things that were going to happen with the defensive staff. That, of course, the day before everything blows up and takes place. And well, the show notes for yesterday, just throw it away because we had to tell the chat sports, don't even bother posting the show. It's completely old news immediately upon doing so. We had to come here today and react to what's going on in Buckeye Nation right now. But first, guys, if you can, please, you've seen what's happened today. And if you haven't, we're going to fill you in here in a second. But if you've seen what's happened, please do us a favor. Comment if you love the new hires. I see I made a grammatical error there. I don't care anymore. If you love the new hires, comment and let us know that what you like about them, why you like them, for whatever reason. It could be just Ryan Day needed to make a change, or you like these specific guys that he hired. We're going to talk about in just a second. We're going to do a reaction video today. We're going to go more in depth here in the future when we have a chance to digest everything. But to be honest with you, we just ate this huge meal of news today. We're still digesting it. Shane, my goodness, the Rosy Cheeked Assassin, dude. We coined that term in Scarlet and Gray. I don't care. People are saying it on Twitter. We coined that term here. I'm convinced that I totally will back that. What do you think about the Rosy Cheeked Assassin today?
Ooh, man. I mean, if you didn't think he had some cojones before, dude, he just definitely showed that he doesn't. He's not messing around. And for every hater out there, which I know there were plenty. I heard plenty of them during the Michigan game. I mean, I heard plenty of them during the beginning of the season. Heard a lot of them during the Rose Bowl first half of the game. A lot of people were saying some stuff. I want to know if you were proven wrong or right, whatever. But I think credit needs to be given where it's due. That's my opinion, man. Credit needs to be given because this dude means business and he's not messing around.
Absolutely. It was amazing. So many people assumed he would just, and I was kind of thinking, you know what? Not going to get my hopes up. We're going to end up making permanent Matt Barnes and just make Coombs a DB coach, and then we're going to move on from there. And if that had happened, let me be honest with you, Shane. Would you even be excited for the next season if we had done that?
Probably not. And you know what's interesting, Corey, is we were chatting yesterday when we did the original tried to record, right? And I kind of made a comparison. I said, I hope, the Jerry Jones method of like being loyal to a fault. We were discussing that, and people won't be able to hear that because we obviously had to scrap that episode. But I'm actually really happy that wasn't the case because that made me a little nervous, just the idea of him being loyal to a fault. Not that those guys are bad guys, but I think this gives him a lot more, in my opinion, street cred. And I am more excited now. I don't know. Like, obviously, I would have been excited for next year. I love Buckeye football, but I think we kind of all knew, like, oh, are we going to have to go through this emotional roller coaster again? And then
The defense is going to be subpar again.
Exactly. I'm excited now. And I don't think, to your point, I don't know if I would have been.
I agree with you. You know what? You're talking about loyalty to a fault. Ryan Day apparently is as loyal to his coaching staff as Michael Corleone is to Fredo in a boat. I'm just saying, he will put him down. It's interesting because we're talking about loyalty here, and he actually has a history with Al Washington. Obviously, we know Carrie Coombs and Al Washington are not returning to Ohio State next year. That's good news to a lot of Buckeye fans out there. I don't want to wish them to were ill or anything like that. They're good people. It's nothing personal. Like Michael said, it's not personal. It's just business. It's just the defense was not performing up to task. But for the record, we had kept hearing that, from the paid sites and from people we know that these two were invited back, but they hadn't made a decision. I mean, I think it was Gibler. I'm going to give him credit from Buckeye Scoop, who kind of insinuated potentially that these two were just not making a decision. And Ryan Day pulled the trigger and just said, "Forget it, then. Let's move on because this is annoying. We're 2 weeks off the season now, and it's time to. I want to get the staff in place for A, because we got National Signing Day coming up, and B, because we need to hit the ground rolling in winter camps. We need We need to get going, for next season because we have potentially a national title contending team, talent-wise. Get the coaches in place and let them get started. Imagine, Knowles is chomping at the bit. I want to know who my position coaches are. Let's get the room. Let's start scheming things up. Let's figure out what we have on the field out there. But Coombs and Washington are gone. Probably, let's say 99% of 95% of Buckeye Nation are happy about it. Shane, what is your feeling on this about Coombs? I mean, Coombs is a Buckeye legend. Let's be real. You talk about Carrie Coombs, every Buckeye fan knows who he is.
Yeah.
Al Washington, legacy, came here with a lot of high hopes. Really is taking a huge hit with his stock and his coaching. And on top of that, be honest with you, has done a 180 from last year where he was just on the brink of being a defensive coordinator for Tennessee. What are your thoughts on these two?
I like the guys. I have nothing against them. I think, we've talked about it before, how Coombs, I gained a lot of respect for him in regards to his loyalty to the program when he got demoted and how he stayed the course. I think that teaches a lot of people. It teaches the guys on the team, teaches a lot of people in his profession, a lot of his colleagues and so forth, how you do that, how you don't just bail out when it gets tough, how you don't just ask the coach to pull you out. It's like a surgeon. Let's say you're in a surgery room, you're doing an operation, and one of the assistants makes a mistake while you're operating, and they're upset, right? Like, because now they made a mistake and you're in a surgery. Well, you can't just back out of it. You can't just leave, right? You want the coach to pull you out. Okay, I can't do this anymore. Well, no, we're doing a surgery and someone's life is on the line. You need to be here. In that regard, Coombs stayed the course, demoted, and the natural instinct is to pull away. He didn't do that. So I love Coombs in that regard. Am I sad to see him go? I'll be honest. I would have loved to have been able to see him in a lesser role, like something more specific or specialized. But I'm grateful for what he did to the program and the way that he showed people how to stay the course and the true brotherhood that is at Ohio State. So massive shout out to Coombs. I love him. I'm sad to see him go. But I'm also excited for the future. We could just touch base on that. I'm super excited for what we've got going on. And then Washington, I think he's great for culture. But unfortunately, as in any job, if you aren't performing, how do you continue to keep your job? And so I think it'll be a good move for Ohio State. And I think the guys coming in, if we want to talk about culture, they'll be just fine for the culture. So it sucks to see him go, but I'm excited for the future.
Well, let's talk about culture for just a second, Shane. Now that you bring that up, we didn't even do show prep for this, but I do want to. This is a great topic. Johnny talks about culture a lot, especially the defensive side of the ball. I think the offensive side of the ball is pretty set culturally. It really pretty rocks every year, right? I mean, yeah, there's a few little hiccups here and there. Maybe the run game isn't as consistent as we'd like sometimes, but overall, Ryan Day pretty much saw one issue with the offense and fixed it right away. With Stud leaving and Justin Fry becoming the new guy, and that staff's set. We didn't even have too much drama with that staff, right? Corey Dennis, Brian Hartline getting a promotion, Tony Alford, Kevin Wilson, of course, being there, and of course you bring in Justin Fry. That we expect the offense to not miss a beat. Defensively, it was chaos the last couple of weeks, not knowing what the heck was going on, and we knew we needed change. I just didn't know how much would come. Jimmy Knowles was a great start. We're all excited about that start. But then we was like, okay, what position coaches are staying? What coming? Defensively, the culture, man, it's other than the Jeff Hafley year, which you could say is half Jeff Hafley being really great, and then half the talent was immense that year on defense. Yeah. Ridiculous. I actually say part of that is the reason why Carrie Coombs didn't succeed at Ohio State. Not to say he would have otherwise, but if he has Chase Young and Jeff Okudah and Damon Arnett, Jordan Fuller, Malik Harrison, Devon Hamilton, Sean Wade in his proper role, he's going to look a lot better as a defensive coordinator. Maybe not a lot better, but he'll look better.
There's some validity to that statement, and I don't want to hear anybody say otherwise. There's a big difference with the caliber of players they had those seasons you're referring to with those guys compared to what they had. And that's just the reality of the situation. Yes, coaches should be able to coach those players to get to an elite status, but there is a big difference in athleticism and skill. So let's just be real there. Okay, continue on.
No, you're right. You're right. And I actually maintain that's at least part of why Hafley left so quickly, because it was going to take a drop. His star was going to fall a little bit the next year. Not to say he was not going to coach well, but it's just not the same talent level. So anyway, but 3 out of the last 4 years, the defense hasn't just been bad. It's been at times embarrassingly atrocious. Yeah. Like, what are we practicing? is there a real culture problem on the defensive side of the ball, or is it just a couple of bad hires maybe? Like Shiano, of course, Shiano I thought was a great hire at the time, and he actually had like one really good year, I think. And 17 was a top 10 defense. People don't even realize that. Had a couple of bad games, but overall the defense was good that year. Of course, when you have a defensive line that's as sick as that was, I mean, Nick Bosa wasn't even a starter on that defensive line.
Right.
I mean, so and they're all in the they're practically all in the NFL. So, but that being said, 18, 20, and 21 have been nothing short of really, really atrocious overall. So what is the problem there, Shane?
You know, I think what you're talking about in the cultural side of things, I'd love to hear what the rest of you guys have to say too. So
Yeah,
please leave us
comment
a
below
comment.
what
What do you
think.
think about the culture of the defensive side of the ball? Now, that's the thing about, collegiate athletics specifically is like there are like everyone wants to say the whole team is unified, and that's true. There is a brotherhood amongst the entire program, right? That's the whole goal. But when you get into the season and so forth, you are pretty much you're kind of segregated into your specific responsibilities, defense and offense, and then even more than that, you're going into your specific positions and so forth. So you're training with these guys, you're with your dudes on the defensive side of the ball all the time throughout the season. Yes, you have team meetings, but yeah, the majority of the time you're practicing with these guys and you're taking care of your responsibility. So when we're talking about culture, yes, the whole culture of the program needs to be good, but I think you made a good point. The offensive culture was great. Everyone stood together. There were changes that needed to be made, and they believed in it, and they fixed it. Defensively, I do feel that there's fractures, and that starts from the top down. Players not believing in their coaches, and I don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but there is something fractured there. You're seeing players with major attitude and behavioral issues leaving game and leaving the program, and that could be a good thing, right? But I also see this. This goes back to the type of player that you have, and this goes for anybody in the entire country. You can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink, right? Sometimes I feel like these coaches, maybe the players feel entitled. They think they're going to come into the Ohio State now because they've gotten recruited to Ohio State. They're these top caliber players. Maybe they're not doing the right things, and maybe these coaches are doing the right things and trying to prepare them, but they can't make these players execute the way they're supposed to. There's a disconnect somewhere. And so this is where I believe change is going to be good for this culture because, like you said, like this has been atrocious at times, embarrassingly atrocious to use your words, bad. Like this is super bad. And I think there is a fracture in that brotherhood on the defensive side of the ball. There's trust issues. It's always easy when you get a Chase Young that can, like some superstar player who can disrupt the play every single time. But when you don't have that and you have to utilize, and everybody has to be on the same page. If one guy isn't filling the gap, and then all of a sudden these pulling tackles get to the second level and take out a linebacker, well, then it leaves the corners and safeties in a bind. And I think that when that happens more than once or twice in one drive, every single game, people start to lose trust in one another, and that fractures. Culture needs to be changed. I don't know how to do that necessarily. I'm not going to be here to be a therapist or anything like that and try to fix the situation, but it is broken.
They ain't paying you to do that. So
I mean, I'm more than willing to take a job if they want to, and I'll learn it.
Yeah, they'll pay 6 figures easily.
But no, I do definitely think it's fractured. But what are your opinions on it, Corey?
There's something wrong. Something's broken there. And I don't think it's just as easily as saying they're soft. I mean, I don't think Ryan Day is soft. I mean, he's showing he's not soft.
Right.
He's coached with Al Washington for years. He's known him for years. Carrie Coombs is a Buckeye legend. I mean, it's like these aren't easy moves. Yes, they're easy for us because we're not attached to the situation. We don't know them personally.
Yeah.
There's no investment from the heart in these guys. Ryan Day didn't hire these guys hoping they would fail.
True.
So I mean, and look, this is something I've been saying for years. It's been depressing since Luke Fickell left because Luke was a great coach for us. And linebackers, that's the last time linebackers were consistently really good was when Luke Fickell was here. And I'm really proud of Luke Fickell for all he's accomplished at Cincinnati. We'll get to Cincinnati in just a second. But that being said, I mean, since Bill Davis and now Al Washington, I was hoping Al Washington would solve the issue because Bill is not doing his job. And but again, the only game I can even say to you out loud that a linebacker was so dominant, it looked like he took over the game, was Justin Hilliard in the Big Ten title game in 2020. I mean,
yeah.
That's it. I mean, I can't think of another game where I'm like, man, a linebacker just was wrecking people that day. We don't have the days of AJ Hawk, Bobby Carpenter, Anthony Schlegel, Ryan Shazier. Those days have been long gone for a while. It's like James Laurinaitis. How am I forgetting James Laurinaitis? I'm not going to even mention his teammate, who's now a coach of the enemy, I mean, who apparently regretted his decision. But I mean, again, there's been a lot of great linebackers, even in recent memory. Ohio State, since 2016, Hilliard had the one game where I can go, wow. I mean, Eichenberg had a nice Rose Bowl, but I mean, it was a lot of tackles. It wasn't like Hilliard was picking people off in the end zone, covering receivers. He was getting tackles for a loss all over the place. I mean, Eichenberg got a couple too, but I mean, Hilliard was on a different beast that day. So, I want that back, and I'm confident Jimmy Knowles can bring that because he's going to be coaching linebackers apparently. And he brought 3 of his assistants to come in from Oklahoma State. We just raided Oklahoma State, got their GAs, and just said, "You want to come to Ohio State?" Yes, we do. But therein lies the issue we're going to talk about in just a second. Because now, who is the new safety coach for Ohio State? Well, Perry Eliano.
Yes, sir.
He comes from Cincinnati. He was the corners coach of the Jim Thorpe Award and Kobe Bryant. You know what? I say that, and it's still kind of weird to me to say that out loud.
Yeah.
Nothing against the kid, obviously, but I mean, it's Kobe. Obviously, Ahmad Gardner was third team All ACC or All AAC. I mean, they had a number 1 pass defense in the country. I look at it and say, he's a corner coach coaching in a playoff game with Cincinnati against Alabama. Ohio State didn't even make the playoffs. We say, "Hey, you want to come be our safeties coach?" Oh, yeah, I do. It's funny because Cincy fans think they're on our level.
Yeah, they're not.
I mean, is this proof or is this proof?
There's something to do with the brand, man. There is power in the brand, and I think you guys alluded to that when you and Johnny were talking earlier in the week about recruiting, right? You're talking about Urban and Ohio State compared to Utah, just the brand itself, right?
Yep.
There is power in the brand, and that, I think, with Perry, that shows it exactly right there. So
the dude's coming to Ohio State saying, "Look, I can get some decent players at Cincinnati and develop them over time. I can get some freaking NFL studs right off the bat." Look at the safety room he's entering. I mean, he's got Josh Proctor coming back, Ronnie Hickman, Tanner McAllister just transferred, who's a nice player. And he got, hey, Bryson Shaw, and everybody's gonna get excited. I mean, I'm not gonna rip on Bryson. You know what the sad part is? I think he actually played a little bit better, and people give him credit, but he didn't have his flaws. But and then of course Cam Martinez, you got him back there. You got a pretty good talented safety room there to work with right away, and we're going to still play that 4-2-5 defense, and we're going to have a lot of safeties. This guy's going to be very important in Jim Knowles' defense. Jim Knowles plays up to 3 safeties at a time usually. So, you needed a great coach in this spot, and we got a great coach in this spot.
And I'm excited about it too, Corey, because like some people I've seen them talking about it, not in a negative way, but they're like, okay, well, that's great and all, but our run defense is what's the problem. Okay, well, let me tell you something. When you can
not statistically,
that's true. But when we lost to Michigan,
that was the issue
Oregon,
that day. Yeah,
Oregon, we were getting smashed on the line. So
the
thing is, where do the safeties come in? Where does the secondary come in there? Well, when you're able to average under 170 yards a game, which is they gave up 169 yards a game at Cincinnati. Oh yeah, this level of competition, yada yada, that whole spiel. Yeah, there's probably some validity to that argument as well. But when you can do something like that and keep teams under 200 yards a game passing, it changes everything up on that first and second level of defense. And so that is what it's going to change everything. When you can change something on the back end, it's going to help everything on the front end. And likewise, if you can change things on the front end, it helps in the back end. And to the run game's point there too, when you have good safeties who know how to take angles, it's not just in the pass game, it's taking angles. There have been many a times where I've watched our safeties take the worst angles ever. They can't wrap up on tackles. They can't get to the spots. They're a half a step or 2 steps slow. I think Perry Eliano is going to make a massive change here for us. So these athletes that we have, he's one of those coaches that I think can really take them and elevate them to the next level.
Absolutely. I love the hire. I mean, Kyle Lamb and I talk during the day. We text each other. He texts me today. Ryan Day is hitting it out of the freaking park with these hires. You go and get arguably one of the best corners coaches in the country, who apparently at his time at Cincinnati, they were 22-1 in a great pass defense. That's not all him. I'm not saying like, hey, we got the one guy that's really good. No, Luke Fickell's a great defensive mind. I'm not taking anything away from him. I mean, we got one of the coaches that Fickell preferred to coach a very important position in the defense, and I'm here for it, man. I'm all here for it. Perry Eliano, welcome to the Buckeye Nation, Perry Eliano. And this is, you look at his background. This is easily the biggest. You can see why he made the jump. It's like, wait a minute, I was at New Mexico, and then I'm in Cincinnati. Now I'm going to Ohio State, all in about 3 years' time.
Let's go. I'm all for it.
Hey, let's go, man. And then enter former Buckeye coaching the corners for us, Tim Walton. I absolutely love this hire. First of all, Shane, he's 50. You're probably saying, what's that got to do with anything? Probably it's a good chance at that age you're not going to be a DC somewhere. You could be, but he could probably be here a little while. Because he's not 36 and like the next up and coming coach. You know what I'm saying? He's been a corners coach pretty much his entire career, and he's jumped around a lot, but he's a former Buckeye. He's a Buckeye captain from 90 to 93. Wouldn't a guy who's jumped around as a corner coach a lot, if he succeeds at Ohio State, wouldn't you think his heart would, like a Brian Hartline, his heart would lead him to stay here?
I would imagine so. I mean, he has the Ohio State in his blood, and it's running through his veins from being here before as a player. Now, life comes full circle. Sometimes when that full circle hits, I mean, there's nowhere else to go. You stay here and you keep rolling with it, especially if it works. So I can see that being a long-term investment right there for you.
Absolutely. And I haven't looked into how his corners have produced and things like that, because we just got the news today, and we're, Shane and I, Johnny, we're all working other jobs and stuff. I was up and down 20 and 30-foot ladders all day. I just texted Shane going, dude, we need to put this out there, but I'm letting you know I'm exhausted. But we're gonna look more into it and get another video out for you guys, because I really want to deep dive into how these guys have performed. But Tim Walton, I do know one thing, and credit to Jeremy Birmingham, or I would have never seen it, because Birm is one of the best in the business, and we would have all the respect in the world for Birm. He quoted Jalen Ramsey, who literally called Tim Walton maybe the best corner coach in the business. I don't know. And one of the top 2 or 3 corners in the NFL, let me repeat that, top 2 or 3 corners in the NFL is endorsing you, you might be pretty good, right? And by the way, Jalen Ramsey saw his rise to stardom, I think, with Tim Walton, if I recall correctly, based on Tim Walton's being at Jacksonville. Or at least saw his peak there. So I don't know. I'm actually I'm pretty excited about this one, especially being a former Buckeye.
Yeah. So with this too, like, you obviously have the endorsement of Ramsey, and that's huge. That's going to be huge for not only like recruiting in the future. You got some names on. You've got the NFL experience, which some people would say, well, that doesn't mean anything, as we all know. Like, NFL doesn't. That's a different game. But he also has high-level collegiate experience as a coach. Okay, he's been on both levels. He understands both sides of the game. Okay, he knows the collegiate game. He knows that game. But what this will do is, when you have those contacts and have those endorsements, people see that. But the guys that are already there right now, which we can always look into the future, but right now we're looking into next season, which is a championship contending team, right? He's going to have them believing immediately as he walks in the room, because they know that he has been there and he knows what he's doing. Okay, that is what I'm excited about. Bringing him in there, the guys will believe, right? Sometimes when you bring in new leadership, whether you're at a full-time job or you're in a sporting event, it's tough for players. If you've ever had to have a coaching change, even at the high school level, coaching changes are hard. I think a lot of us can talk about that. It's like, whoa, some people buy in, some don't. And some people in your specific field that you need to work right alongside in your position, they don't buy in, and you're buying in. It's hard. I have a feeling with Tim Walton, they're not going to have that problem. I think when he gets in there, those corners are going to be like, okay, let's go. This guy obviously knows how to, produce high-level talent. He knows how to get people to the next level. He knows how to get them to perform at a high level at the next level.
He could even tell them what to expect at the next level, since he's been there for so many years.
So that's exactly it. So I love that it's going to help now, immediately, or has the potential to, I should say, as well as in the future. That is huge, so long as he doesn't leave. But to your point, Corey, you had mentioned, he's older, and this could potentially be a long-term thing. But as we were researching, the small research that we were able to do, he has been around to quite a few programs, different colleges, and then into the NFL, and was doing this thing. So does that not worry you at all? that he has been bounced around a little bit. I mean, in a good reason. I don't think it was anything negative.
I think if he wasn't a Buckeye alum, I would say, ooh, he might be here 2 years. But being the Buckeye alum has me at least believing that he's here for a reason, because he could probably go get another NFL gig if he wanted. He's been in the NFL. He's been bounced around the NFL. People seem to like him and hire him at different teams. So honestly, he's like Jeff, not unlike Jeff Hafley, who also was endorsed by one of the best at the time in Richard Sherman. I say at the time because Richard obviously isn't there anymore, but Jeff had bounced around a little bit, and he was on some bad teams. But his position always performed. So it's possible Tim Walton, we're going to look more into it, his position would perform on some just bad teams where the coaches would get fired, and he's just not retained.
Yeah.
So, and it happens to a lot of really good coaches. That doesn't, I mean, Zach Smith brought it up on his show. It doesn't mean they're not a good coach. It just means the head coach stunk and he couldn't get the job done, and the new guy wants his guys.
Yeah, exactly.
It is what it is. But I mean, I look at this. Maybe he's like coming to Ohio State. He's like, I'm tired of bouncing around. I want to come home.
Totally.
I'm excited about it, man. I love it. I dig it. I'm excited. Jimmy Knowles going to be coaching linebackers, and then you got Tim Walton and Perry Eliano. Awesome. And there might be more changes coming. I don't know, but guys, I want you to comment about Ryan Michael Corleone Day. I mean, he is straight up gangster. He is straight up kiss you in the face, say you broke my heart. He is straight up. I'll get you on a fishing boat and put a gun to the back of your head. And okay, that's getting a little violent now, but you get my drift. He is straight up. I will do whatever it takes to win. It's just business. It's not personal. Shane, what's your comment of the day for Michael Corleone Day?
Get it done, baby. Let's go.
I agree, man. Guys, comment below. Also, like and subscribe if you like what you see. We love and appreciate all you guys have been showing us so much support recently. Hope to keep bringing you the content you seem to like, and we'll continue to try to improve as always. And we'll have more videos with Shane coming up. Starting to get a schedule locked down because the off season, you got to do a lot of planning to make sure you have good content, because there's no games to fall on here and say, well, we'll review that game. So it's more like, okay, so we really need to keep your ear to the grindstone and like actually discuss certain topics of the day. And today was no different. This was Red Thursday for Buckeye Nation, and still maybe more to come is from what we understand. So Shane, let them know where they can find you, buddy.
Okay, just come follow me at Twitter at the Game Time Guru. If you ever want to listen to my own podcast, you can find me, the Game Time Guru, on any podcast platform. But just make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel for Ohio State football with Scarlet N Great, so we can share it out to the rest of Buckeye Nation.
And please like the video if you like what you see. And always, as always, leave us a comment. We love to read the comments. So you guys have been great about it lately. We love and appreciate it. As always, for my co-host Shane Larson, this has been Florida Corey. Sound like a news broadcast all of a sudden. As always, guys, goodbye, God bless, and go Bucks.